Hello, this is Minder Chen. This is part of the entrepreneurship course series of video lectures. We're going to talk about business strategy in the context of startup business. First, we're going to use the business model environment map. This approach is promoted and described in the business model generation book. At the center of the business model environment is the business model canvas. At the center is the value proposition, which is your product and service. And you do try to deliver or sell your product and service to the customer segment on the right-hand side. In order to do so, you do need to establish a sales channel, which can be physical or online, in order for you to build a strong customer relationships with your customer, in terms of getting customers, keeping customer, and growing customer. And once you have a paying customer, that's how you may generate the revenue. In order to produce your value propositions, you do need to work with some key partner and perform certain key activity up here, and which may require some key resources. And all of this will cost you, which is the cost building block. And your profit will be determined on whether you can generate more revenue than the cost that you have to spend. So, but beyond this business model, if we look at some of the external factors that help us to shape this business model canvas, are the following four major driving forces. One is the key trend. Second is the market forces. Third, the macroeconomics forces. And the fourth but not the least are the industry-specific forces. And we're going to introduce each of these four major driving forces in detail, but let me just kind of pick a few of the detail item in this four key driving forces and try to relate that to the business model canvas. For instance, in the key trends area, you may actually inspire by certain societal and cultural trend, and that inspire you to identify certain segment of the customer in the marketplace for you to offer some unique value proposition and to target them. And certain regulatory coming our way may also provide an opportunity, such as deregulation or actually regulation as well. Some emerging technology may offer us an opportunity to enable some new product or services that utilize the enabling technology. Market forces without saying certainly shaping the customer segment in terms of the market segment and to understand the user's needs and demand. And there's some market issue we need to address. And in order to attract customer from other well-established competitor, we need to consider so-called switching cost over here. And we also need to study whether the market that we identify are attractive enough, because in terms of whether we can generate revenue in terms of the paying customers and the profit margin involved. On the macroeconomic side, we need to look at the whole economic infrastructures, whether there's a capital market to fund our initiative, and also the global market condition. For instance, in 2008, during the financial crisis, a lot of venture capital firms funding were dried up. That may limit your ability to actually raise funding. The industry force we will use Michael Porter's 5 force analysis and a few others business strategy approach that he proposed in helping us to analyze the competitiveness in the marketplace comparing to the industry force. You may ask why business strategy is important to a startup business and for entrepreneurs. And typically, we kind of try to tell the entrepreneur that they should focus on execution instead of business strategy. But in reality, strategy does matter because you have very limited resources. And having a strategy is very important for entrepreneurial management because strategy is all about how you make choices in allocating your resources to build up your business and to gain some advantage. And so formulating a business strategy can help the entrepreneur to prioritize and to be more focused. Focus is actually a business strategy, and it is probably the most common business strategy for any startup business just because you have very limited resources. The only way you can compete with the big well-established player is to actually to find a niche market, to use the focus strategy, which allow you to establish a beachhead market. Once you establish, and then you can compete with the big player in a broader marketplace. And in formulating your strategy, you need to be flexible. And sometimes you will pivot your strategy and when you find out that the reality is not the way you assume it is. So be flexible, be able to adapt and pivot when it's needed is important in our strategy setting process. This is just summarize the key trend. One is technology trend. If you're driven by technology, certainly observing the technology trend is important. If your business has a lot to do with government regulation, paying attention to the government regulation or government policy will be very important things for you to pay attention to. Be a keen observer of the social trend or cultural trend that may inspire you for to have some idea for product and services. Look at the socio-economic trend, such as a lot of countries are facing so-called aging society, and so long-term care for elderly is an important issue that could inspire you for certain innovative products and services. In analyzing the environment or scanning an environment, there's one business strategy technique. It's called PESTEL Analysis. It's an acronym for political, economical, and social and demographic, technological, environmental, and legal aspect of your business. And you need to take all of that into consideration in the context of the whole industry and specifically to your firms. So this is just a diagram to illustrate all the external driving forces in the macro environment. The macroeconomic forces that we have discussed earlier, including the global market condition, the capital markets here related to like venture capital firms financing and how much money they have to invest. Commodity and other resources, if they're expensive, you have a hard time obtaining those resources that make it difficult for you to start your business. And also look at the economic infrastructures. The market forces is important for us to understand our value proposition and the customer segment in order to find the product market fit. So there are some market issues which we will identify key issue that's driving and transforming our market from the customer's viewpoint and also from our product and service offering perspective. And we need to identify the market segments and try to understand why it is attractive segment. And also we may want to identify a new market segment that nobody have noticed before. Truly understand the needs and demand of the marketplace is important, and understand how well they have been currently served by existing player. Switching costs, if there's a low switching cost, we can kind of win over the customers from the competitor easier. But at the same time, if the switching cost for your customer is low, your customer can be easily steal by potential competitors. The revenue attractiveness is really based on two factors that we have discussed in another lecture, which is you need to understand the market sizing, how big is the market, and also the margin, the profit margin of the potential market. If you have potentially a large market size and also very high profit margin, then the revenue attractiveness will be on the high end. One of the Portal's most famous business strategy model is this, we call it 5-force model for competitive analysis. And if a company are highly competitive, basically you have higher chance of become more profitable in the marketplace. The 5 forces are the following. We're going to start with the fifth one, which means the competitor in the same industry that you want to compete with, such as airline industry, soft drink industry, etc. And in the existing competitors, you need to look at whether they're online or offline. Are they just pure online player, or they use the physical channel to sell their products and services? That's the offline competitor. You definitely want to, as a startup company, you definitely want to study your competitors. And so when you will ask, like, who are your competitor, you should be able to name some. Only in really rare case, some startup company can say we just don't have competitor. Okay, but that's really extreme case. So study your competition, your competitors. And also be reminded that you need to think about your current competitors and some future competitor who may arrive on the scene after you have established your beachhead market. Let's look at other competitors, competing force. Okay, you can call them competitors as well. One is some new entrants. That's kind of the future competitor concept. The threat of new entrants could be someone from totally a different industry, such as Apple's iPod is a music player instrument device. And however, with the iTunes and iTunes Store, Apple become an online retailer, music retailer. In this case, competing with the physical stores such as Tower Record. And Tower Record is no longer here. They probably have never thought about Apple as a competitor. So this is an example of a potential threat of a new entrance, a lot of time from a totally different industry, which may disrupt your business and business model. And threat of substitute product and services is another example of competing force which may compete with you. For instance, Polaroid, which produced an instant camera, which was popular probably 20 years ago. However, they went through some bankruptcy in the last few years. And one of the substitute service in this case is 1 hour photo finishing. Some people want the photo to be developed quickly, but they can wait for about an hour. So in this case, Polaroid instant camera is not so attractive anymore. And certainly another major threat is the digital camera. Digital camera certainly can quickly allow you to capture the image, the pictures, and you can also share it almost instantly through email, through your Facebook, through your Instagram. And if you wish, and by the way, digital camera now is disrupted by smartphone, which has a very and pretty decent camera with high resolution. So if you're in the digital camera industry or business, although you disrupted the instant camera or even the traditional camera business, but now the smartphone as a substitute product is disrupting the digital camera business. So you always need to watch out for your back, like who may be coming and catch up with you. So in any business, you do need to have that awareness of in terms of the competition coming from all directions. And Andy Grove from Intel once wrote a book called Only the Paranoid Survive. So to some extent, you almost are worried about all the possible competition every day from different direction. Okay, two other remaining competing forces are the suppliers or the buyers that you have some relationship with. Your supplier may envy your high profit margin, decided instead of sell you the component for you to produce a product to sell, they decided to establish their own brand and then sell a competing product. And the buyer, particularly large buyer who has a lot of purchasing power, may decide instead of buying the product from you, they may want to actually produce the product directly. A lot of major retailers like Costco, for instance, they have their private label, Kirkland brand. So they do carry other brand, but over time they may establish their own brand and products and competing with you. So this 5-force model is actually very, very useful. Help you to think about who you want to work with and who you may be competing with. And by the way, you are a lot of time competing with your customer and supplier, but at the same time, you're encouraged to work and collaborate with your supplier and your customer in establishing your product and services. Another popular business strategy analysis tool is SWOT analysis. All the business student, MBA students should know about SWOT analysis. And however, I found that in order to use the SWOT analysis wisely, it's not an easy thing. And let me first quote from The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which is the earliest military strategy book. Sun Tzu said that know the enemy and know yourself. Okay. Then in 100 battles, you will never be imperial. Okay. And to some extent, the most important thing is know yourself. Know your strengths and know your weakness. And know the enemy, to some extent, is know your enemy's strengths and weakness, which can be translated in the as an external environmental threat or opportunity. You always look at the yin and yang side of an issue. So when you look at the strengths, on the other side is the weakness. When you look at the opportunity, the other side is threat. Okay, but the terms, the SWOT, the strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat, is a relative term. It's relative to the context you're talking about. For instance, when you're thinking about strategy and weakness, you probably are talking about it in the context of competing in a particular market segment. You may be very strong in the high-tech industry, but in the service industry, you may be very weak. So the strength and weakness is related to which market segment, customer segment you're talking about. And the opportunity and threat certainly are environmental force, but it's also related to what initiative you're talking about, what industry you're talking about. You may have a great opportunity in one industry based on your capability, but in another industry, you may actually facing a major threat. Okay. So once again, strengths and weakness are kind of internal factors. Opportunity and threat are external and environmental factors. Knowing your weakness doesn't mean that you will give up pursuing certain initiative. Let me just quote another famous philosopher in China, Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu has a famous saying that, let me first say it in Chinese, say, 以其病病，是以不病. Okay, let me kind of translate it based on the Chinese. So, because we know our sickness is sickness, our weakness is our weakness. Therefore, it's not your weakness anymore. So if you can identify your own weakness, then you know how to fix it. Therefore, your weakness may not be your weakness again. Okay, so that's the essence of what Lao Tzu was saying. Okay, so what is really driving you to pursue opportunity? We talk about opportunity in various places. Opportunity is important in our pursuit of business opportunity as a startup company, as an entrepreneur. And however, in pursuing the opportunity, it's often driven by your desire. And actually, I prefer to use a term called by your will. Okay, when there's a will, there's a way. And from your will, you will creatively come up with a vision which would actually help you to identify your strengths, your birds in hand, who you are, what you have, and whom you know. Okay, that's kind of your strengths. And even you may have some weakness. Okay, knowing who you are, including understand your own weakness. But if you do know, okay, I'm very weak in terms of technology area, you can approach some really good technical talent and acquire, work with them, recruit them as the founding member. Then your weakness is not a weakness anymore. And so together you can pursue the opportunity. So therefore, this is why I'm stating here and say vision is the driving force that utilize the firm's strengths turn the threat into opportunity. Or we can certainly add it to that and say vision allow you to identify the weakness that you need to overcome. So you would be able to acquire, by collaborating with others, you will acquire necessary resources to turn your weakness into strengths, to fend out the potential threat and to pursue the opportunity. There's a case called Sula wine. You can find the case and study it, and try to use the SWOT methods to analyze the Sula wine based on the case study, and try to maybe come up with a SWOT analysis for the Sula wine. Okay, that would be a very interesting exercise that you should try to go through, which definitely will help you to truly understand the SWOT analysis. Once again, this is just another slide as an example of a SWOT analysis conducted for a particular business. SWOT can be used for startup firm, can be used for a well-established firm when they try to take certain initiative. They can always conduct a SWOT analysis. Once again, strengths and weaknesses are internal, opportunity and threat are external. And the strengths, opportunity are the positive side of it, and the weakness and the threats are the negative side of it. Last but not the least, we turn the SWOT into something called TOWS. This is based on a online resource here. So you study the external environment, okay, the context, the overall context. You will identify threats and opportunity. And by the way, sometimes the threat or even the crisis is an opportunity. Okay, this is not totally black and white. And then you look internally, individually, or look at your organization in terms of your capability. You will identify your weakness and your strengths related to a particular initiative or business model, and related to certain threats and opportunity in the environment. And if you take advantage of your strengths facing the opportunity that's given, then that's a promising opportunity. Your strengths allow you to take advantage of certain opportunity. They are, lots of opportunity almost every day in our surrounding, but some opportunity is not just for us to grab, just due to who we are, what we know, or who we know, and so that we decided that's really not an area that I'm good at. For instance, there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, deep learning, but if you have no understanding of AI, no training in that area, then that may not be something you want to pursue. Certainly you can study it and find out when there's a business opportunity for it. If you know the business domain, even you don't know the technical domain, you can still work with someone to apply AI in certain business domain. And I added this to this original model, basically saying that if you have some weakness relatively to opportunity you try to pursue, doesn't mean that you will give up. It means that you could try to turn your weaknesses into strengths, okay, into the strengths. And your weakness potentially could present a threat to you, the critical threat. And together, taking the threat, opportunity, weakness, and strengths together, we will formulate our strategy based on the promising opportunity, which means that our strengths can help us to approach the opportunity with high chance of success. And also, we will figure out a way to make sure the threat will not threaten our business, and either by understanding where we're really weak, and then build up our strengths against those weakness and threat. Okay, so the SWOT eventually will lead to the formulation of some business strategy to help us to guide us to pursue the startup business opportunity properly. Okay, strategy is an important topic. We just kind of scratched the surface, and we're going to continue to discuss it a little bit more, but we'll do that in the next lectures. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.